Imagine this. It's a quiet evening and you're relaxing at home after a long day. You go to bed as usual, but something is different this time. The sound of footsteps echoes through the hallway as though you're not alone in the house. You try to ignore it, but the footsteps just keep getting closer until suddenly there's a soft knock at your door. You open it, but no one is there. What happens next will leave you questioning everything you know about reality. Hello, I'm Erudite and welcome to Moonskull. If you're looking for tales of horror, the paranormal, sci-fi, and the unexplained, then you are in the right place. I know you 5,000 wonderful fear addicts, as well as the 30% of you closet horror buffs who have still not subscribed yet, are eager to get to the story I just mentioned. So, let's dive into Seth's chilling experience. Seth had always considered himself a practical and logical person, someone who didn't buy into the idea of ghosts or strange occurrences. But that all changed one evening when he found himself alone in his apartment. A cozy, modest space he'd moved into just a few months earlier. It wasn't the nicest place, but it was affordable and close to work, which made it ideal. Nothing about the apartment ever gave him the reason to be suspicious until that night. It started with a knock. Not a loud, forceful one, but soft, quiet, almost as if someone were trying to get his attention, without disturbing the entire building. Seth looked towards his front door, confused. No one was expected. He glances around the apartment, the dim light of his living room casting long shadows. The apartment was still, almost too still. A chill ran down his spine as he cautiously approached the door. He stood there for a moment, listening. Then the knock came again, gentler this time, almost hesitant. He hesitated, his hand on the doorknob before opening it, but when he did, no one was standing there. The hallway outside was empty. The faint hum of the building's old heating system was the only sound that was breaking the silence. He stepped out into the hallway, his eyes scanning every corner, and he said, "Hello?" He called out, but there was no response. The hallway was still and empty. Seth frowned, shaking off the unease that was beginning to settle in his stomach. Maybe it was just his imagination, or perhaps some kind of strange neighbor's prank. But as he turned to head back into his apartment, he felt a sudden coldness, as though the temperature had dropped by several degrees. He shivered, and just as he reached the door to his apartment, he heard the unmistakable sound of footsteps. Soft, deliberate footsteps coming from the direction of his bedroom. Now, his heart skipped a beat. No one was in the apartment with him. He hadn't heard anybody come in, he hadn't heard the door open, yet the sound of the footsteps was undeniable. Slowly, he turned around to look and took a few cautious steps down the hallway, trying to keep quiet as possible. The footsteps grew louder, closer, until they stopped just outside of his bedroom door. Seth's breath caught in his throat. He had to know who or what was in his apartment. With a deep breath, he gathered his courage and opened the bedroom door, his hand trembling slightly as he did. The room was dark, with only the faint glow of the streetlights shining through the window. The footsteps had stopped, and the air felt thick with silence. Seth flicked on the light, his heart racing, and the room was empty. Nothing was out of place. No one was there. Relieved, Seth chuckled nervously to himself, shaking his head, thinking, must have been hearing things. He stood there for a moment, just trying to shake off the unsettling feeling that seemed to linger in the room, but then something strange happened. A soft whisper, almost inaudible, filled the room. Seth froze. The whisper was not coming from anywhere in particular. It felt like it was all around him, filling his ears, but he couldn't make out the words. His pulse quickened as he turned in a circle, trying to locate the source of this voice, but there was nothing. Nothing except the whispering. It stopped as quickly as it had started. Seth, now terrified, bolted for the door, and he slammed it behind him, his mind racing. He couldn't explain it didn't make sense, but the whisper, the knock, the footsteps, it was all too real to ignore. The next day, Seth decided to take action. He spoke with the landlord, asking if anyone had reported strange noises or occurrences in the building. The landlord shrugged, dismissing it as old pipes or the building settling. No one had ever complained about anything paranormal. But as the days passed, Seth couldn't shake the feeling that something or someone was watching him. He continued to hear the soft knocking and the footsteps, each time growing closer, each time more persistent. Then one night, as he lay in bed, wide awake, he heard it again, the knock at the door. This time, he didn't even bother checking. He knew better. But the footsteps, they didn't stop. They continued, echoing down the hallway, and Seth just lay there, paralyzed by fear. And then, as he had before, the whisper returned. But this time, it was clearer. This time, he could make out the words, "Let me in." Seth never spoke about what happened after that night. The whispering, the knocking, and even the footsteps all stopped after that. He moved out of the apartment a month later, unable to bear the mounting dread in the air. And to this day, Seth still can't explain what happened that night, or why it happened to him. And there you have it, folks, a haunting tale of a seemingly ordinary night that turned into a chilling nightmare. What do you think happened to Seth? Was it all in his head, or was there something truly supernatural at work? Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. And if you want more of this kind of wild paranormal real-life madness, make sure to smash that like button and hit subscribe, because we got plenty more where this came from. I'm Arudai, and until next time, stay curious, stay cautious, and remember, sometimes the scariest things are the ones we can't explain.